Your name is everywhere, everywhere. It's trending, it's buzzing. It's the kind of heat you can't ignore. People are talking, screens are lighting up, and the rumors, oh, they're wild. Someone's name is being dragged into the mix, tied to yours in ways you never expected. Whispers of connections, secret ties, and hidden truths are swirling like a storm. Who's accusing who? What's really going on? One thing's clear. Your name is a hot topic right now. And everyone's asking the same question. Is someone really with you? People are convinced something's going on. They think you're sneaking around, making late-night connections, or patching things up with someone who should have been long gone. You don't post, you don't explain, and somehow that lack of validation feeds their paranoia more than the truth ever could. They're hunting for signs in the way you smile, the music you post, the timestamps on your stories. And when they don't find answers, they create their own. Some swear you're back with a past flame. Others insist you're ghosting everyone to entertain someone secretly. You're just living, breathing, existing. But to them, that's suspicious. Your silence makes noise. It rattles cages, disrupts comfort zones, and threatens the illusion of closure. Because if you're really done, if you've really moved on, why does your energy still feel so present? The truth is, the mystery isn't what you're doing. It's why they're still so consumed. The way you're not explaining yourself is the exact reason they keep talking. Your detachment doesn't look like avoidance. It looks like strategy. Like you know something they don't, like you've already won and you're too dignified to boast. That alone is triggering, because they expected chaos from you. They expected bitterness, reaction, mess. But instead, you gave them grace, growth and quiet elevation. And that's what they don't know how to process. They're used to noise. You gave them stillness. They're used to chasing drama. You moved like peace. And now they're scrambling to fill the silence with their own voices, not realizing that the loudest thing in the room is still your name. They said they were over you. They swore you were a chapter closed, a lesson learned, a mistake forgotten. But the people around them aren't buying it. The shift in their mood is too obvious. The tension in their voice when your name comes up is too raw. Their silence isn't neutral, it's defensive. And now, questions are being asked, not just whispered behind their back, but spoken aloud. Are you still talking to them? Why do you act different when they come up? Someone is being accused of still being tied to you, of secretly checking on you, of reminiscing when they're supposed to be moving forward. They say no, of course. Denial comes fast, but energy doesn't lie. Their words say one thing, but their aura betrays them. They flinch when your name is mentioned. They get quiet when you post something powerful. Their eyes linger when you appear on a screen. The truth is inked in their reactions, not their answers. People are noticing the emotional distance, the way they drift off mid-conversation, the unspoken comparisons. It's all starting to make sense. They may be physically present with someone else, but their spirit is lagging behind, stuck in memories, in mistakes, in moments they can't recreate. You left, but your energy didn't. And the ones around them feel it like static in the air, uncomfortable, electric, undeniable. They're confused, caught between guilt and longing. They want to defend themselves, but the truth is too heavy. They don't want to admit that your silence feels louder than the noise in their life. They don't want to say that no one makes them feel the way you did. So they fumble, they avoid, they pretend. But pretending doesn't protect them from what's obvious anymore, and the whispers are growing. Because no matter how many times they say it's over, everyone's starting to see it. They never left you. Not really. Not energetically. Not emotionally. And no matter who they stand next to now, the shadow of your presence still stretches across their world. You walked away. You did the healing, you cut the cords, you closed the door they kept cracking open. But even from a distance, your energy clings to them like smoke. It's not your doing. You released them, you gave them freedom. But what they didn't realize is that walking away from someone who elevated their soul would leave an echo, one that rattles their spirit in quiet moments. You stopped reaching out, stopped responding, stopped hoping. Yet they feel you everywhere. They fumbled. Something sacred. You were more than just a person. You were an awakening. And now, every shallow connection feels like noise compared to the clarity you brought. They try to recreate you in others, but it never lands. Your energy had depth, and now everything around them feels hollow. Your absence disrupted their routine, not because of dependency, but because your presence was peace, and that peace can't be replaced. People around them don't know what changed, but they sense it. The way your name triggers arguments, the way your memory shifts the vibe in a room. One mention of you and the air thickens. They can't escape the reactions because your name is now a test of their honesty, of their healing, of the lie they keep trying to sell that they've moved on. They're haunted, not by the past, but by the potential. They know they could have risen with you. They know they chose ego, confusion, or convenience. And now, every win you post, every glow-up you reveal, reminds them of what they let go. It's spiritual warfare dressed as casual regret. You became the lesson they didn't want to learn, and that lesson keeps showing up. People around them don't know what changed, but they sense it. The way your name triggers arguments, the way your memory shifts the vibe in a room. One mention of you and the air thickens. They can't escape the reactions because your name is now a test of their honesty, of their healing, of the lie they keep trying to sell that they've moved on. They're haunted, not by the past, but by the potential. They know they could have risen with you. They know they chose ego, confusion, or convenience. And now, every win you post, every glow-up you reveal, reminds them of what they let go. It's spiritual warfare dressed as casual regret. You became the lesson they didn't want to learn, and that lesson keeps showing up. They're dissecting everything, the way you've been dressing, the way you've been smiling, the random locations you tag, even the way you're not reacting to provocations anymore. To them, that kind of peace has to come from love, from intimacy, from someone keeping you happy in private. The idea that you could feel this hole on your own doesn't compute in their world. But the truth is, your glow isn't from a relationship. It's from release. You let go of chaos. You step back from people who needed access to your pain to feel important. You stopped explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. And now that you've moved in silence, elevated without the noise, and become too quiet to track, they think you're hiding something. They don't want to admit it, but what they're really witnessing is transformation. And that's the kind of glow no filter, no photo, no fake relationship can manufacture. And I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing entirely to put yourself to the test. When I confronted the archons beyond our reality, they made one thing clear. True chosen ones are rare. They laughed at the thought of us finding each other, yet here you are watching this message. The Obsidian Inner Order isn't for everyone claiming to be awakened. We're the real ones. Those who've seen beyond the veil, felt the call, and carry the unmistakable frequency. But are you truly one of us? I have given you everything I've got, and I'm digging deeper to bring you even more. Don't just consume content from the sidelines. Real chosen ones take action. Share your story on our weekly group call. Get a revealing tarot reading from our resident card reader. Discover if your experiences align with the authentic signs. The archons fear nothing more than chosen ones recognizing each other. When we connect, our frequencies amplify and create a force they cannot stop. That's why we're going to be live streaming to the entire Astral Atom network to find every last one of us. Click the link in the description below now. It's time to stop wondering and confirm what you already suspect. Are you merely interested in awakening, or are you truly chosen? Prove it. Join us. The verification you seek awaits with the Obsidian Inner Order. The accusations are flying. Words like, they're still talking, they never really left, they're hiding something. People are pressing someone to confess, not because they've seen anything concrete, but because they can feel the unrest. In their spirit, the tension isn't about what they're doing, it's about what they're denying. Every time your name comes up, there's a shift. They're stuttering through excuses, they're over-explaining, they're dodging, and no one believes them, not because they're bad liars, but because the truth keeps leaking through the cracks in their energy. You're not there physically, you're not texting, calling, showing up, and yet somehow your presence is everywhere. The accusations, they're just a surface-level reaction to something deeper. People sense the bond that still lives in the background. A soul tie that never got severed, a door that was closed but never locked. This isn't just about being caught. It's about being exposed, because the real fear isn't that they're still talking to you. The real fear is that they still want to, and the one they're with feels it. They can't compete with what they can't see, but they feel the pull like gravity. Their instincts are screaming. Their heart knows the truth, even if their mind refuses to admit it. They don't just feel threatened, they feel invisible next to a connection that still lingers in silence. What's worse is that the one being accused doesn't even have to do anything wrong to look guilty, because their energy speaks. The way they hesitate, the way they get defensive, the way their demeanor shifts when you're mentioned, that's what's revealing the truth. They're still tethered to you, and no lie, no denial, no argument can erase what's already written in their aura. They're haunted, not by you, but by the version of themselves they lost when they let you go. The accusations hurt, but not because they're false. They hurt because they expose a longing they've been trying to suppress. And now the world sees it. You're not the villain in this story, you're the mirror. And that reflection is the part they can't stand to face. Since the day you entered their life, nothing has felt the same. You didn't just show up, you shifted the frequency. You cracked open something they'd buried deep. You made them question the roles they were playing, the masks they were wearing, the people they were trying to please. Your connection wasn't just romantic, it was catalytic. It woke them up. And once the awakening started, everything around them began to tremble. They started thinking differently, moving differently. They questioned things they once accepted without hesitation. You planted seeds of self-awareness that disrupted the patterns they were raised to repeat. You weren't love in the traditional sense. You were a trigger, a mirror, a light too bright to ignore. And when you left, the impact didn't disappear. It multiplied. People noticed. Friends, family, partners, they saw the change. Some didn't like it, some felt threatened. Because your presence didn't just affect them. It started exposing everyone around them too. The illusions they once clung to began to crumble. The lies they were comfortable with started to itch. You didn't just break the mold, you shattered it. And that kind of disruption doesn't come without resistance. Now they're surrounded by people trying to pull them back into the old version of themselves. The one who fit in, followed the rules, played small. Those same people see you as the reason for the shift. You became the scapegoat, the disruptor, the wild card they couldn't control. Your name became synonymous with rebellion, with clarity, with growth. And that terrifies those who thrive on manipulation. But the ripple didn't stop there. It moved through every room they walked into, every conversation they had, every choice they started to reconsider. You broke the cycle, and cycles hate being broken. That's why there's tension. That's why there's gossip. That's why your name won't die down. Because you didn't just love them, you woke them up. And now, the entire environment they once settled for is trying to force them back to sleep. You were more than an experience. You were the shift, and the aftershock of your energy is still being felt by people who never even met you, but felt your presence through the changes they could no longer ignore. Not every voice in the room is against you. While the loudest ones throw your name around like an insult, someone's been quietly standing in your defense. Behind closed doors, in hushed tones and uncertain pauses, you're being spoken of differently. They're not the villain you think they are. Slips through the cracks of conversations not meant for you. Someone sees the truth, and they're no longer comfortable letting lies define your name. They watched what really happened. They saw the unraveling from the inside. They know who fumbled, who folded, who failed to show up for you. And though they're not ready to shout it from the rooftops, they're tired of pretending you were the problem. The same people who once joined in dragging your name are now hearing a different story, one shaded with accountability and uncomfortable truths, and it's shaking their perception. Not every voice in the room is against you. While the loudest ones throw your name around like an insult, someone's been quietly standing in your defense. Behind closed doors, in hushed tones and uncertain pauses, you're being spoken of differently. They're not the villain you think they are. Slips through the cracks of conversations not meant for you. Someone sees the truth, and they're no longer comfortable letting lies define your name. They watched what really happened. They saw the unraveling from the inside. They know who fumbled, who folded, who failed to show up for you. And though they're not ready to shout it from the rooftops, they're tired of pretending you were the problem. The same people who once joined in dragging your name are now hearing a different story, one shaded with accountability and uncomfortable truths, and it's shaking their perception. The person defending you might not even like you, but respect doesn't require affection. They've seen your grace. They remember the way you handled betrayal, the way you walked away without setting the world on fire. And now, watching the chaos unfold without you in it, they know you never needed to spin a narrative because the truth always exposes itself. Whispers are shifting. The loyalty they had to the version of events that painted you as toxic is cracking, because your silence has power. Your refusal to play the victim, your lack of public retaliation, it's made people rethink everything. The one defending you isn't trying to make you a hero. They're simply refusing to let others erase the reality of what you brought to the table. They've started pulling people aside. Be real, they say. You know it wasn't all them. That ripple is moving through circles that once only echoed negativity. Now there's doubt, hesitation, and the beginning of accountability. You're not there to hear it, but your presence is being honored where your voice has been absent, and that's the beauty of truth. It doesn't need a defense team, but sometimes it still gets one. Quietly, strategically, from someone who knows the real story and can no longer sit silent while others rewrite your legacy in lies. They thought they made the right choice. Surrounded by cheers, validation, and surface-level approval, they convinced themselves the crowd was the safe bet. You were unpredictable, too real, too intense. The crowd offered comfort, conformity, applause without growth. So they chose what was easy, what looked good, what fit the narrative they were too scared to break. But now, that applause has gone silent, and the regret is deafening. They've started pulling people aside. Be real, they say. You know it wasn't all them. That ripple is moving through circles that once only echoed negativity. Now there's doubt, hesitation, and the beginning of accountability. You're not there to hear it, but your presence is being honored where your voice has been absent, and that's the beauty of truth. It doesn't need a defense team, but sometimes it still gets one. Quietly, strategically, from someone who knows the real story and can no longer sit silent while others rewrite your legacy in lies. They thought they made the right choice. Surrounded by cheers, validation, and surface-level approval, They convinced themselves the crowd was the safe bet. You were unpredictable, too real, too intense. The crowd offered comfort, conformity, applause without growth. So they chose what was easy, what looked good, what fit the narrative they were too scared to break. But now, that applause has gone silent, and the regret is deafening. They traded depth for noise, connection for clout. You offered soul, healing, truth, but that meant facing themselves, and they weren't ready. So they ran toward the familiar, the loud, the shallow. They thought they could bury the bond under distractions. But when the party died down, when the crowd stopped clapping, they were left with echoes. And those echoes reminded them of what they lost. Peace, authenticity, you. Now the same people who pulled them from you are the ones turning on them. The smiles have twisted into smirks. The validation is conditional. The environment they chose is filled with performance and politics, not love. And in the silence between the chaos, they hear it. The memory of your voice, your stillness, your truth. The very things they thought they didn't need are now the things they're craving. The regret cuts deeper because they know you didn't chase them, you didn't beg, you didn't compete with the crowd, you let them go, with grace, with dignity. And that's the part they can't outrun. You didn't lose them, they lost you, and now they're stuck trying to make peace with a choice they made out of fear, not faith. They thought your peace was boring. Now they understand it was protection. They thought your boundaries were rejection. Now they realize they were structure. You weren't the storm. They were just addicted to chaos. And when you refused to be a part of the circus, they labeled you difficult. But now, surrounded by masks and empty praise, they see the difference. You were the real one, and they threw it away for noise that doesn't love them back. They regret it, not just because they lost you, but because now they never truly understood your worth until it was too late. You're not even playing the same game anymore, while they're still tangled in gossip, still chasing attention, still reacting to noise. You've shifted dimensions. You've stopped explaining yourself, stopped responding, stopped being available to the chaos. And now, they can't reach you. Not because you're hiding, but because you've outgrown the version of yourself that once needed to be understood. You don't live in the same emotional frequency anymore. That door, closed. That timeline, expired. You've elevated. You've moved into a reality where peace is the baseline, not the reward, where your time is sacred and your energy is filtered. You don't need validation from the people who once doubted your power. Their opinions feel small now, not because you're arrogant, but because you finally see clearly. You were never meant to stay where they kept you. You were meant to rise, and rise you did, without an audience, without applause, without their permission. That's why they're spiraling. You're unrecognizable to them now. The version of you that tolerated their games, entertained their questions, tried to prove your worth, that version no longer exists. And the version that stands in its place, boundaried, luminous, untouchable. They can't figure out how to trigger you because you've removed the wires they once used to manipulate you. You've unplugged from the narrative. You've stopped feeding the illusion. Now they're watching from a distance, confused, bitter, envious, trying to make sense of how someone they once dismissed became someone they can't ignore. You've built a reality where their chaos has no power, their opinions have no influence, and their assumptions have no access. And that reality, it's built on truth, healing, and divine alignment. They're still chasing closure in conversations that no longer exist, still throwing your name around in rooms you no longer walk into, still asking questions about a version of you that doesn't live here anymore, because they don't understand that elevation demands detachment, and you detach not to punish, but to protect what you were becoming. They don't hate you, they hate that you healed without them, that you moved on, that you grew, and worst of all, they hate that they still care in a reality where you no longer even look back. Let them talk. Let them guess. Let them spin their narratives around a version of you they can no longer reach. You don't need to clear your name in rooms that are beneath your vibration. You've moved beyond the noise, beyond the need to be defended or explained. Your power is not in how loud you are, it's in how deeply you've transformed, and transformation makes people uncomfortable. You're living in purpose while they're stuck in projection. You've stopped performing, you've stopped proving, and now you walk with the kind of silence that terrifies the ones who once thrived on your chaos. Because that silence is proof. You've elevated, you're healed, you're untouchable. Let them accuse, let them spiral, let them watch you from the shadows of their own insecurity while you stand fully in your light. Because the truth always rises, and you already have.